Kids, this is my vlog for May the 3rd, 2014. It's been a couple months since I've spoken with you, and I wanted to give you an update and tell you what's going on. Lots going on in my life. Since we last spoke in February, I went on a cruise. I went on a 2-week cruise from Santiago, Chile to Miami. And I got this cruise kind of at a last-minute deal and cashed in some American Airlines miles and flew first class down to Santiago through Dallas and paid for 5-star service, and it was really worth it. So for those of you considering 5-star service on American, if you're eligible for it, it's worth the money, particularly if you're going to somewhere you don't know, you're not familiar with. So I mean, if it's just a domestic trip and you know Dallas Airport or you know Chicago or whatever, I wouldn't recommend it. But if you don't know where you're going, like I'd never been to Santiago and I was going on a cruise ship, it was important. And I also wasn't familiar with Dallas, which has changed quite a bit since I worked for American Airlines 14 years ago. So anyway, I went down to Santiago. We went to Valparaiso, which has been in the news lately because it caught on fire. The whole town, basically, like all the hills burned. So I have some pictures somewhere in a camera. Eventually I'll get them out and share them with you. But I'm still wrangling with Celebrity Cruises because, to say the least, my cruise was a disaster. I was on the Infinity. And the Celebrity Cruise Lines ship Infinity is very poorly run. It is horribly managed. It is poorly maintained. And they managed in 2 weeks to give me food poisoning twice and then give me that disease that everybody gets on cruises that makes you, basically, things come flying out of both ends of you uncontrollably. I forget what they call it. I got that too. And then at the end, just the frosting and candles on the cake, they gave me a respiratory, like everybody was coughing the last 2 days. So I got a respiratory infection, which ended up taking 3 weeks to clear up with antibiotics. And little did I know, I gave it to my best friend who picked me up at the port. And he ended up in the hospital because of it. So I'm not real happy with Celebrity Cruises. And I think their post-cruise customer service sucks terribly. The cruise was horrible, and the Infinity is a very old, unstable ship that's not well maintained and poorly managed. And Celebrity Cruises in general is just poorly managed from top to bottom. It's a pathetic shame. So that's what I have to think about that. Now, the only highlight to that cruise was I got to see my godson, Carlitos, in Lima, and that was amazing. And I was so happy about that. So, what else has gone on? I finally got Medicare, April 1st. So, unfortunately, I got back and had to go to the doctor before my Medicare kicked in. But then when I had to go see him again because I was still sick, I have my Medicare now. And I went and I have what they call like they have a person that like gets all your medical history and then shares it among the other physicians, and they make a medical plan for you. So they decided I needed to go to see a psychologist. So I went and see a psychologist last week, which I wrote about, and he was interesting. He seems to take great delight in the fact that I have anxiety disorders and panic attacks, and he says he can do something for that. He didn't say anything about all the rest of the things that are wrong with me, but he did say that he would like me to see a new psychiatrist. This is a psychologist. He doesn't do drugs, so he wants me to see this new psychiatrist. So I'm telling everybody right now, because this is important, because many of you have seen me go through medication changes, and they're never cute. And I just went through one the last 2 weeks. my doctor, my regular doctor, took me off of Valium and put me on Ativan. Because Valium had been building up in my system and it was starting to affect my memory even more than my memory is already affected. So he changed the medicine, and it was a trip. And I felt like I was floating around in space, and I felt like a float on the Rose Parade, kind of, for about 4 days. Since I've been on Ativan, it's been calming. I don't have like a lot of, problems with it. It does, however, seem to me that it's a whole different monkey than Valium. Valium was one of those drugs you take and just everything is like there's no buzz, there's no nothing. Ativan doesn't quite have that. It has a little, how do I say, it lets you know you're taking something. It doesn't just fall in, in with the rest of the drugs that I take. So I can definitely know when I'm taking it as opposed to when I'm not taking it. And I take it about twice a day. So that's what's going on with that. And I wanted everybody to know in advance if I start changing or you don't see me as much online or whatever, not to worry. It's probably me going down the rabbit hole of a new medication since I'm going to have a new psychiatrist. And I'll do my best to report on that as it goes along, because as long as I can stay awake, these journeys tend to be interesting to document, because there's nothing quite as soul moving and earth moving as having your whole mind taken over by a drug, or coming down off of the drug that your mind was on and switching to a new one. It's a feeling like it's like changing souls almost. It's just that strange. The other thing that was great, I got in touch with someone that I had been hoping to get in touch with for years, and finally I talked to my Cuban mother, who I have not talked to in the better part of a decade, and it was very emotional. She contacted me several days ago on Facebook, and then today we actually spoke on the phone. And I was sad to hear one of my coworkers, which was a little bit younger than I was, passed away several years ago. I had chatted with him online, and then he just went missing, and I never knew why. Well, apparently he dropped dead, and that is sad. One more person I've lost in my life. But my Cuban mother, who has gone through hell and high water, is still hanging in there, and I'm so happy for her that she's still hanging in there, and I'm happy for her family that they still have her around. That's about it. That's what I wanted to talk about today. I'm back, and I'm feeling okay, and I'm doing fine. I will share one thing with you. I went on a cruise in the end of November, the beginning of December. I went on the drag queen cruise, and I remember talking to you about that. Anyway, before I left, I shaved my head, shaved my face, and manscaped, so I would look, like everything was together. And it was shocking then. Well, I take testosterone because that's one of my issues. And so I'm getting older. So I have all this testosterone running around, and I'm getting hairier. So my manscaping went from a small chore to, well, today I decided to shave my head and my face because I was going to do a video. And I did my manscaping, and I have to tell you, it was frightening. It was so frightening. It was like you could have shot an episode of Naked or Afraid or Dual Survivor down in that jungle. It was too much. I almost wanted to just put napalm on it and just burn it to the ground. So, but sadly, I ended up nicking myself a few times, and that's always exciting. And I had a new body wash that the gatekeeper brought home for me, and it was Spider-Man Peppermint Body Wash. Now, if you've never ever used peppermint oil, I don't know who decided to invent this, but peppermint oil burns skin, and if you're nicked, it burns. And if you put it in sensitive spots like your anus, it burns. So there I was after my manscaping and shaving and everything else, and I just lit my whole body on fire with peppermint body wash. But I smell like a candy cane, so I guess that's tasty if you like peppermint. I guess run to your nearest Walmart and look for Spider-Man Peppermint Body Wash, and take a nice big gloop and put it up your anus and find out how that feels. See how that works out for ya. Anyway, that's it. Talk to you later. Have a good one.